So let me get this straight. For the last nearly 2 years, this man has put on performance after performance after performance. We've used famous song after famous song after famous song, and we've had no problems whatsoever. We've had zero problems whatsoever. This man disappears for 2 months, remodels his entire drum room with no help whatsoever, puts in new carpet, strings the curtains, creates a drum head, paints the walls. Guy chops down a 50-foot tree with his bare hands and creates fresh, custom-made drumsticks. Then gives the performance of his life. And what do we find out? What do we find out the next day? Apparently, the executives of this shit site known as YouTube discontinued automatic video credits on January 31st, 2019, which means nobody can use famous songs or audio without getting copyrighted and their video getting blocked or taken down. Therefore, his performance had to be cut out of the rundown for WrestleMania. May I ask why? Why? What is this, some cheap budgeting tactic to save money for YouTube? I don't make money off this. What do I have to rob? I do this as a form of entertainment to captivate an audience. And for the last 2 years, this man has captivated an audience, men, women, and children, and given performance after performance that have brought smiles to so many people's faces. And you red bastards over at YouTube have the audacity to discontinue the video credits and cut his performance out? May I remind you exactly who you are dealing with? I'm the catalyst of charisma, the manipulator of mayhem, the game changer, the history maker, the dream crusher, the greatest fucking wrestling analyst on the face of the planet and the greatest YouTuber of all time. I am DJ Storms. But no. See, I'm the least of your worries. Because now you're going to have to answer to him. Now, he may work for me, but there is no telling what he will do. No. I don't think anyone is ready for that. See this, now's not the time. I got a better idea. As the great Eminem once said, fuck compete. I go a cappella. No. Come with me. Show me you don't need the music. Tomorrow night live on the WWE Network, we will see 2 ladder matches, one for the men and one for the women, where they will attempt to ascend the ladder to greatness and become Mr. or Miss Money in the Bank. And 2 men, 2 of the best in the world, will go head to head for the very first time ever in the WWE for the coveted Universal Championship. But before it is time for that dream match for the coveted title to take place, before it is time to ascend the ladder to greatness, before it is time for Money in the Bank, guys so much for tuning in to yet another video right here on YouTube.com. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is the official rundown for Money in the Bank 2019, which of course is streaming live tomorrow night on the WWE Network with the pre-show starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And yes, he ain't dead. He is well and truly alive. Because JV Thunder right here, JV Thunder, he has been MIA for the entirety of WrestleMania season. He did return at WrestleMania Rundown. Fortunately, we had to cut his performance out because of Thunderstruck. By the end of the video, I will address where we will be going and what his future holds. But for now, let's get straight into the matches for Money in the Bank. Now, we got 11 matches. We're going to go match by match. Let's talk about the pre-show match between Daniel Bryan and Rowan, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, taking on the Usos. The reason why Daniel Bryan is currently on the kickoff show is because the WWE didn't know how long his recovery period was going to take, and they didn't expect him to be back this quickly. Fortunately for Bryan, he is. Now they decided to put him on the show. Now, this is good in a sense that it could very well get the Cruiserweights on the main show, which I will talk about that match next. As far as this match goes, again, this is pretty much a filler match for the pre-show. The whole wild card rule, you know, it's an overly convoluted mess. I don't really need to explain how stupid this whole wild card rule is. I've already gone through that. But I will say, give this match 10-11 minutes. It could be a good tag team match, and as far as the winner goes, you know, I really don't know who is going to come out victorious. I would assume it will be Daniel Bryan and Rowan based off of the fact that, you know, they just won the titles. The Usos are on Raw. They got their deal with the Revival. The Revival could end up costing Daniel Bryan and Rowan. You never know. But now, as far as the match goes, I can hope it's a good match. I'm assuming it will be a decent match, and I'm just going to go with Daniel Bryan and Rowan. They should be on the road to facing Heavy Machinery, because Heavy Machinery did tease a little interaction between themselves and Bryan and Rowan for the tag team titles. So Heavy Machinery could be next in line to challenge Daniel Bryan and Rowan. Next, we got the Cruiserweight Championship match. We got Tony Nese taking on Ariya Daivari. I am very much looking forward to this match based off of the fact that 205 Live has been doing great things. They've been doing great things all year. Tony Nese, I said this on the Get in the Ring preview and prediction show for Money in the Bank with Earl Cole the other day on Facebook on the Wrestling Express group page. If you want to go check that out, it's still currently on the Wrestling Express page. Shout out to Mr. Earl Cole. I talked about how Tony Nese has been one of the MVPs of 2019. The guy's been putting on great performance after great performance after great performance with the likes of Noam Dar, Cedric Alexander, and Buddy Murphy. He put on a great match against Ligero this past Tuesday on 205 Live. Ariya Daivari, I will say he is very underrated. He's certainly coming to his own, and he's a good interim opponent for Tony Nese. Daivari is not winning this. I'm going with Tony Nese to retain. You give these guys the proper amount of time, I think they could put on probably the most underrated match of the night. Do not sleep on the Cruiserweights, ladies and gentlemen. As far as where both men go afterwards, Daivari will have his time. He will have his time. Not now, but he will have his time. As far as Tony Nese's next challenger, Akira Tozawa did beat Mike Kanellis on 205 Live in that no DQ match. So I'm assuming that we should get Akira Tozawa versus Tony Nese at the Saudi Arabian show, which is Super Showdown on June 7th. And then they've been building up Humberto Carrillo for a Cruiserweight Championship match with a couple of big wins over Gulak. And in that Fatal 4-Way, I would say Humberto should get the next shot at Stomping Grounds. And as far as who should take the title off of Nese, I'm going to be going with Oney Lorcan, since he is one of the biggest names in the Cruiserweight division, and he will take that title off of Tony Nese at SummerSlam. But this whole process is not going to get into full swing until Tony Nese retains the Cruiserweight title against Ariya Daivari. Should be a very underrated match, Tony Nese to retain. Let's talk about the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It is Dana Brooke, Natalya, Naomi, and Nikki Cross replacing Alexa Bliss. And on the SmackDown side, we got Carmella, Bayley, Ember Moon, and Mandy Rose. Why is Alexa Bliss taken out? Well, the fact of the matter is, she has had history of concussions in the past. Apparently, she got another one after the Royal Rumble, which is unfortunate for her. And, I don't wish any harm on Alexa Bliss. I actually hope she does get better if it is a concussion, but I actually don't think it's a concussion. I don't think it's a concussion at all. Because if it was, then I don't think that WWE would have allowed her to compete in a match the night after WrestleMania against Bayley. And even though she didn't take any bumps, they've been really trying to protect her as far as the concussion protocol goes. However, they did announce her for Money in the Bank, and based on what happened with Nikki Cross on Monday Night Raw, you know that they had every intention of having her compete on Sunday. But there's been recent reports going around, and I have heard that apparently she got her Thing 1 and Thing 2 enhanced. So that is probably why she's not medically cleared to compete at this rate, because she hasn't competed in any live events, any matches, outside of that 1 2-minute match with Bayley the night after Mania, and, she didn't take any bumps in that match. So I wouldn't assume that she would be under concussion protocol if she hasn't been competing in any matches since the Royal Rumble. As far as this match goes, I am assuming that it could very well be a good match. It's going to be a 20-minute match, 22-minute match. There's really nothing I can say as far as what's going to go on in the match. It's going to be very chaotic, just like the last one. As far as the winner goes, you got 3 options. You got Nikki Cross, you got Ember, and you got Bayley. You got Nikki Cross, you got Ember, you got Bayley. As far as the best possible option, I would go ahead and say Bayley. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that the best possible route for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship would be Becky retaining over Charlotte, and I'm going to kind of do a double prediction here. Becky retaining over Charlotte. Becky's going to retain the SmackDown Live Women's Championship over Charlotte, because truthfully, I cannot stand to see Charlotte in another Women's Championship reign. I truthfully cannot stand for it. The woman has had 8 championship reigns, and she has been pushed into a position where no one wants to see her anymore. Now, she's great at what she does, but at this rate, she really needs a break from the championship picture. And a break from the championship picture would really help Charlotte in more ways than one. Becky should retain over Charlotte. Bayley is going to ascend that ladder. Bayley is going to win the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase. And then you have Ember Moon versus Becky Lynch at Stomping Grounds on June 23rd. Bayley goes the Seth Rollins route, cashes in on Becky and Ember right in the middle of their match. Bayley wins the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. She has a one-off match with Becky at Extreme Rules. We build towards Bayley versus Ember at SummerSlam, and that is when Ember Moon finally gets her moment. You can build up Ember as the lovable babyface chasing the championship, and Bayley becomes the opportunist. But again, in order for that process to start, you need to have Bayley win the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Becky retains the SmackDown Live Women's Championship over Charlotte Flair. That is Becky's first match. Now, unless Bayley cashes in on that night, who knows? But Bayley is winning the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, and I'm going with Becky to retain over Charlotte Flair. That's definitely going to be the better of the 2 Becky matches, because Charlotte is clearly the superior wrestler to Lacey Evans, which brings me to the next match, which is Lacey Evans versus Becky for the Raw Women's Championship. This is Becky's second match. It could be the first, it could be the second, whichever one they decide to do. And I will say this again, Lacey Evans is not bad at what she does. She's got a decent character, she's decent in the ring. But the fact of the matter is that they turned her into a catwalking gimmick for the entirety of WrestleMania season, and then she's just gifted a SmackDown Live Women's Championship, a Raw Women's Championship match, It really doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Lacey Evans is not ready for a championship match. If they would have built her up over the next 6 months, they would have given her a title match probably by the end of September, I wouldn't be complaining, and a lot of people wouldn't be complaining. But it's the stereotypical, tall, hot blonde that WWE likes to push. I can only hope that this, again, I can only hope. I don't want to shit all over this pay-per-view. I don't want to shit on the match. I don't want to shit on anything. But WWE's track record has pretty much given me no choice. So I'm going to hold off on the bashing, I'm going to hold off on the ranting, and I'm going to wait and see how this plays out. Most likely, it's going to be a decent match. I would assume Becky should bring some sort of intensity out of Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans isn't bad in the ring. We're going to see how WWE books the situation and how Lacey Evans handles herself in a big match situation. And if there's one thing that you can be sure about, is that Becky is not losing both belts. If she is to lose a belt, it's either going to be to Charlotte or it's going to be to Bayley, and it's going to be the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. But I'm going with Becky Lynch to retain the Raw Women's Championship. I'm going with Becky to retain both, as she should. But, you know, knowing WWE, they're probably going to pull the plug on Becky's fairy tale run, and they're going to pull the plug on Becky 2 belts, even though it's only been a month. But I'm going with Becky Lynch to retain the Raw Women's Championship. Again, we have to see how this plays out. It's a very high unpredictability factor with the WWE main roster, and not in a good way. Next match. Let's talk about Roman Reigns versus Elias. I really don't need to say much about this match, and why should I? Both men are worn out, tired, recycled, rehashed gimmicks. Elias is one of the biggest disappointments, because Elias should have been the Intercontinental Champion by mid-2018. I don't know why WWE did not go with that route. But instead they went with the Rollins and Ziggler route just to keep Rollins out of the Universal title picture, when Rollins should have been the one to face Lesnar at SummerSlam. Do I even need to say a word? Do I even need to say a word about Roman Reigns? Do I even need to say a word? Absolutely nothing with Roman Reigns. Nothing with Roman Reigns in this current babyface role is anything interesting whatsoever. And if you find interest in this, your standards must be either so low that they have gone through the fucking floor, or you're just a brainwashed fucking moron. So I don't need to say too much about that. We already know Roman fans are the dumbest fucks in the community. But you know, everyone's like talking about these dream matches at Money in the Bank. We've had Cena and Styles. We've had Cena and Owens. We've had Rollins. We're gonna get Rollins and Styles. We're going to get Rollins and Styles. You want to talk about dream matches? With Roman Reigns, it's an undream match. You had the match with Jinder Mahal last year. You can expect the same type of match, the same type of crowd reaction that you're going to get with Roman Reigns and Elias, just like you did with Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal. Roman and Jinder put on one of the worst matches of the entire year, and I expect the same. Nothing about either man excites anyone. And if you are excited by this, you are a complete simpleton. Roman Reigns wins. Roman Reigns wins. That's all I'm going to say. Unless they're going to have Shane McMahon cost Roman Reigns, Elias gets the win, and we could go ahead with the supposed route with Shane McMahon and Roman Reigns at the Saudi show. If that's the case, you're already going to bring the quality of that show down. I realize it's a look, I realize that the Saudi show is a throwaway show, and WWE's merely putting it on to get money from the Saudi prince, but at least put some fucking effort into it and make it interesting. Instead of spitting in the face of your fan base every single week. Seriously. Moving on. Let's talk about Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe for the United States Championship. Now, this is WWE trying to correct what they did at WrestleMania. And look, I have no problem with WWE correcting themselves from WrestleMania and giving us an actual match between these two, because personally, Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe does sound like a very interesting match in many people's eyes. But do you have to have Rey Mysterio go out of his way to book? You gotta book Rey Mysterio to pin Samoa Joe on television? And really, all the champions have been losing on television. The Iconics, even though they fucking suck. Joe, Bálor, the Raw Tag Team Champions, Hawkins and Ryder, they lost to the Viking Raiders on Raw just a couple of weeks back. Why do you have to go out of your way to have all of these champions lose and diminish their credibility and just make them feel like everyone else? Especially Samoa Joe. But Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio, this is a correction from WrestleMania. We're going to get an actual match between these two for the United States title. Have it go 12, 13 minutes. And as far as the winner goes, Rey Mysterio should be nowhere near the championship picture. He said that his days are numbered. And I also heard, this is a rumor going around, I heard that Rey Mysterio supposedly wants to pass on his mask to his son, because his son has supposedly inked a training deal with the WWE, and supposedly Rey Mysterio wants to face his son and pass the torch to his son. So if this is the case, then this could possibly happen like in the next few years. Maybe the next year or two. Now, I will give credit where credit's due. Rey Mysterio is 45 years old, still moving around like he's 20. He's doing very well. Got to give a lot of credit where credit's due there to Rey Mysterio. But Joe is the money man for the United States Championship as we speak. There should be no reason why Samoa Joe should be losing the United States Championship. Joe at least needs to hold that title till at least Stomping Grounds. And why I say Stomping Grounds is because you have a prime opportunity here to insert Ricochet into a United States Championship feud with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe and Ricochet, I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a barn burner if I do say so myself. But as far as the Saudi show goes, I wouldn't mind, you got Cesaro in there. I just pitched Ricochet. I wouldn't mind seeing a fatal four-way between Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, and Cesaro around the Saudi show. And then you can insert Ricochet into a match with Samoa Joe at Stomping Grounds on June 23rd. You could build off a feud. You could either have Samoa Joe retain, or you could have Ricochet win the title. Either way, you could have Ricochet win the title sometime in the summer. There you go. But as far as the match at Money in the Bank goes, Samoa Joe to retain. I'm looking for a decent match. I'm assuming we'll get it. And that's all I can really say about that match. Let's move on to the WWE Championship match between Kofi Kingston and Kevin Owens. I am not sure where Kofi goes after this match. Because you got Kevin Owens, if Kofi retains, are you really going to book this match again at the Saudi show? And if you are, why? Now, is it going to be a screwy finish? Is it going to be a double countout? Is it going to be a disqualification? Because if so, I really don't want to see that, especially on a pay-per-view in a championship match. Shit like that, it really does get under my skin, because this right here, this is a pay-per-view, and it's the best that WWE has to offer. Even if it's a B-level pay-per-view, even if it's not a Big 5 pay-per-view, this is a pay-per-view, and people are tuning in to see the best that you have to offer. And if the best that you have to offer is going to be a count-out or a disqualification in a main championship match like Kofi and Owens, just to continue it at the Saudi show, I don't know. That just leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But either way, I am actually going to go with Kofi Kingston to retain the WWE Championship. I think it's too soon for Kofi, and I will explain why Kofi Kingston retaining the WWE Championship is even a better idea than having Kevin Owens win, because of who's going to win the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, which I will talk about next. Now, this match, I would assume this match is going to go somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. It's Kofi Kingston, it's Kevin Owens. So, I don't see how this could be considered as bad. This is not going to be a bad match at all. It could very well be the match of the night. You never know. Could very well be the match of the night. Kofi put on a match of the night at WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan. That's going to show you how good Daniel Bryan is. Maybe Kofi Kingston's going to do it again. This is Kofi's third title defense. This is Kevin Owens' second opportunity at the WWE Championship this year. I'm assuming that WWE is going to do something to boost this match up, since it's one of the main matches. They're going to do something to boost this entire pay-per-view up, because we do got Double or Nothing in 1 week's time. 1 week's time, people, remember that. As far as the winner goes, Kofi Kingston to retain, and we're going to talk about the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and why Kofi Kingston retaining is the best possible option, because number one, you got to give Kofi a bit more of a reign with the title, and number two, you have a huge opportunity here as Kofi Kingston is one of the biggest baby faces in the WWE right now. The Money in the Bank ladder match. For the Raw side, we got Sami Zayn, who replaced Braun Strowman. You got Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Ricochet from Raw. Then you got Andrade, the Intercontinental Champion, Finn Bálor, Ali, and Randy Orton. The top 3 picks to win this match are Drew, Sami, and Andrade. Drew McIntyre, he could benefit from this, but I don't feel he needs this, mainly because you can still put Drew McIntyre in a Universal title program with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, which is probably the best possible route at this rate, because Drew McIntyre is well overdue for a Universal Championship title reign. Sami, now, look, Sami hasn't wrestled too much since WrestleMania, but again, Sami Zayn right now is probably the best thing, one of the best things that they got going on Monday Night Raw, even though his promos are recycled and rehashed from Vince McMahon. And I already reported that on the Lightning Flash update yesterday, where I had Chrissy, shout out to her if you want to go follow her on Twitter, it's @CommanderChrissy. But as far as this match goes, Andrade seems like the best route at this rate. Now, Andrade, he's got 2 routes going for him. One is the Money in the Bank briefcase, and should he not win that, it looks like the feud between Andrade and Finn Bálor is going to continue after Money in the Bank. Now, they could very well have Andrade win the briefcase, and they could very well have him go into a feud with Finn Bálor, and Finn Bálor could end up retaining his title over Andrade at the Saudi show. But at this rate, Andrade winning the briefcase, it presents a very interesting opportunity here. Kofi is on a hot monumentous babyface role. If that's even a word, monumentous. Probably not, but, who cares? Who cares? Stomping Grounds, if you want, and let me tell you something. The reason why I keep mentioning Stomping Grounds is because you know that WWE is going to have some trouble with these ticket sales. This is a new show in Tacoma, Washington, and based on the name, everyone's like, fuck this, I'm not going to go to Stomping Grounds. So, if you want to make Stomping Grounds and make the summer of 2019 a memorable summer, and, make Stomping Grounds a pay-per-view that people would legitimately watch and tune into, I mentioned Bayley coming in and cashing in. You could do the same thing with Andrade. You could have 2 cash-ins on the same night. You could have Kofi Kingston defending the WWE Championship against whoever. Doesn't matter who. I would assume it would possibly be Randy Orton. I would like to see Kofi and Randy Orton, mainly because the story writes itself in that feud from 2009. Now, that's some great history for you. I don't think WWE would do that, but it's a nice fantasy booking idea. I would like to see Kofi and Randy Orton. You could have Kofi retain, or you could have, Kofi just get his ass beat, and then Andrade comes out. Andrade could become the biggest heel of the night by cashing in on Kofi Kingston and winning the WWE Championship at Stomping Grounds. Andrade has the briefcase. You could do a match with Kofi Kingston at Extreme Rules, and then you could build towards something else at SummerSlam. And Andrade could very well hold the title for the rest of the year. Andrade's fantastic. Andrade's fantastic at what he does. Andrade has been one of the best things going, and he hasn't even had a championship yet in the WWE. Andrade at this rate would be the best possible option. You could get a ton of heel heat on Andrade. Cashing in on Kofi Kingston, and you can make Stomping Grounds a memorable pay-per-view and actually generate some interest going into the summer of 2019. It pretty much kills 3 birds all with 1 stone. Andrade gets heel heat, Stomping Grounds is enhanced, and interest is generated for WWE main roster programming going into the summer. Do I think WWE will go that exact route? Probably not. We're going to see how it plays out. I can only hope for the best, but if we get jack shit, you can expect a lot of complaining from me. Andrade to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. That is my prediction. We're getting down to the last 2 matches. Let's talk about Miz and Shane McMahon inside a steel cage. Did they really kill off the Miz's babyface character, man? They really killed that off. now he's pandering to the crowd, having Roman on MITB, saying that you're going to go down faster than your father went to a Superman punch. The Falls Count Anywhere match was great, and I really didn't have a problem with them continuing the feud, but when they moved The Miz over to Raw, and they pretty much had him start pandering to the crowd, like, that's not what I want out of a Miz babyface. A Miz babyface needs to be serious, needs to be determined. I don't want to see him doing all these talk shows with the other babyfaces, or failures of babyfaces, so to speak, and pandering to the crowd. It's just not in the Miz's nature. It's just not in the Miz's nature after everything he's done. Keep it serious, keep him focused, keep him determined. And you got Shane McMahon and all that. Look, steel cage match. Again, it has potential. It has potential. A lot of these matches have potential to be good. But it goes back to the fact that, I just don't trust WWE main roster programming and booking. And why should we? WWE has not given us a reason to trust them. That's why we go into a lot of these shows bitching and complaining. That's why we went into WrestleMania bitching and complaining. But by the end of it, we ended up getting a very good show. Now, I can only hope that we get a repeat from WrestleMania for Money in the Bank, and we get a good show, despite us having no expectations for it whatsoever. As far as the winner goes, Miz is going to win. I don't really see any reason why this show should even continue, especially since Shane has his own issues with Roman Reigns on SmackDown. So I would assume that they would end this feud and go on with the Roman and Shane feud, even though no one gives a fuck about that feud. But as far as Miz and Shane goes, Miz is going to win. I don't know where the Miz goes on Monday Night Raw. I'm assuming that they could put him in a program with Samoa Joe for the United States title, or they could put him in a program with Rollins for the Universal title. Either way, Miz is a big question mark of where he goes after Money in the Bank. So we're going to see how that plays out. I'm going with the Miz to win over Shane McMahon inside the steel cage. Now let's get down to our final match before we wrap this video up. Seth Rollins defending the Universal Championship against AJ Styles. No reason why this match is taking place. Double or nothing. Whether you want to admit it or not. Now, I'm not really complaining about it. I'm not complaining about it at all. It's too early, but I'm not really complaining about it because I want to see these guys tear the house down. I want to see these guys tear the house down. I'm going to give these guys 30 minutes. WWE, I'm offering you advice here. If you really want to compete with Double or Nothing, you have these guys, no ball and chain, no restrictions, 30 minutes. 30 minutes and have these guys absolutely tear the house down. Now, as far as the outcome goes, WWE, I see multiple routes. I just don't know what WWE is going to choose. WWE advertised Lesnar, Undertaker, and Goldberg for the Saudi show. Goldberg and The Undertaker have been confirmed for a match. Lesnar has not. You remember what happened at Hell in a Cell 2018 when Roman Reigns faced off against Braun Strowman inside Hell in a Cell for the Universal title and Lesnar came out and interrupted? And then WWE went a triple threat route and booked Roman defending the title against Strowman and Lesnar in a triple threat match at Crown Jewel. I would not be surprised, but you see, that match didn't take place because Roman had to relinquish the title due to his real-life leukemia incident and that coming back, and we all know how that played out. I would not be surprised if Rollins and AJ are facing each other, and these two are tearing the house down, and they're down and out, and Lesnar, out of nowhere, because he has not been seen since WrestleMania, Lesnar comes out of nowhere, and he causes a double disqualification, and we get a triple threat match between Rollins, Lesnar, and Styles at the Saudi show. We could get Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, or I wouldn't be surprised if WWE had AJ go full-blown heel. He could institute Gallows and Anderson, and we could possibly see an AJ Rollins feud with AJ as the full-blown heel, and AJ using the club to get the upper hand over Seth Rollins and win the Universal Championship. Again, this is the unpredictability factor with the WWE, and again, this is not in a good way like it is with NXT because you don't really know where anyone's going to go. And there's no plans. There's really no plans whatsoever as far as planning ahead months and months as far as the WWE main roster product goes. That's why we trust NXT so much, because they have planned ahead. You know that NXT has a lot of plans as far as TakeOver 25 goes and where they're going to go for TakeOver Toronto. That's why a lot of matches at TakeOver Toronto are very unpredictable. Now, I'm going to do the rundown for TakeOver Toronto on another date. That's another video for another time. As far as this match goes, I really do not know what route WWE is going to go. I don't. I really don't. Again, it is a huge question mark. It is always, it's 99% of the time, it's always a huge question mark with the WWE main roster programming. But I am going to go with Seth Rollins retaining the Universal Championship. I'm going to go with Seth Rollins, whether it's a DQ, whether it's an actual victory, a clean victory, or whether it's a screwy finish. I'm going to go with Seth Rollins. Somehow, some way, is getting out of Money in the Bank with the Universal Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of The Rundown. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Again, if you have not checked out the Get in the Ring, Money in the Bank preview and predictions live stream on the Wrestling Express Facebook group page, not the fan page, the group page, with Mr. Earl Cole. Shout out to Earl Cole. Go check that out right now. He's actually going to be in Hartford for Money in the Bank tomorrow, so if you want to go say hi to him. By the time many of you watch this, I'm going to be in Lodi, New Jersey, in Lodi High School at Destined for Greatness. Signings are from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The show is from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. We have 3 WrestleMania guys in the main event. It's Stockade versus Mike Orlando versus Darius Carter. I cannot wait for that match. Do not forget to check out the Lightning Flash updates, parts 1 and 2. Part 2 was with Chrissy. Shout out to her. Go follow her on Twitter at Commander Chrissy. Do not forget to hit that like button. Go and give me this video. I want you to try to get to 15 likes, I would say. 15 likes on this video. If you're going to give me a thumbs down, there you go. Here's what I also want you guys to do. I want you guys to go and hit that subscribe button. I believe we are nearly at 10,030 subscribers. Or excuse me, no, 1,030 subscribers, excuse me. 1,000 plus subscribers, man. Who would have known that some generic white dude with jet black sideburns and Blues Brothers sunglasses will be over 1,000 subs within 2 years? What a concept. Here's what I also want you to do. I also want you to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way, you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube, because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, after so long, we will once again hear him with the glorious beat of the drums. Thunder, take us home!